I'm still the underdog. I'm still the little guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm no one. You know what I mean? Like I'm just some dude that just picks up a camera and does things. You know, with whatever I get. And so to be, you know, approached by one of these multi-billion-dollar companies and say like, hey, let's do this project. It's mind-blowing. It's crazy. But it's all the power of the medium. It's all having to do with video. It's all having to do with your audience, you know.
Welcome to Cinema 5D on the Go. Moving conversations about moving images with filmmakers and industry leaders. Brought to you by Tilta, Blackmagic Design, Manfrotto, and Olympus OND in association with Sony. This is your host, Nino Leitner.
Well, don't you think, I mean, like, this is the future in a way, like, I mean, you look around, there's millions and millions of cars everywhere, and 99.9% of them are not electric yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think the whole, I mean, this is not the filmmaking topic in a way, but the question is, will electric cars be used like gasoline cars are used? Will everybody have to own a car, which is just standing around unused for 95% of the time, just wasting space? And I think there's a lot of stories to tell in that way. So, you know, like, I think that's something also in terms of what's possible in the future, just to, you know, like, what needs to be thought about. And if you look at what, you know, like Tesla or Elon Musk are doing with, you know, like tossing around these ideas of, you know, building tunnels below Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff.
It's basically what it is. It's storytelling. It's just, you know, somebody at some point had the idea to build entire cities, especially here in the US, based on cars. Because if you look at Los Angeles, it's like this, like,
it's a grid, yeah.
It's a grid, and it only is a grid because it was built around the automobile.
Yeah.
And if you look at other cities, like, you know, in Europe, everything is just developed naturally over centuries, and it looks completely different.
Yeah.
So how can cities change? How does everything change based on the ways of transportation? I think that's very, very interesting, and I think there's a lot of potential filmmaking content in that as well.
I mean, it's a compelling story, right? I mean, we are, as a society, as human beings in this planet, we're totally ruining it, right? And just because we want to drive our gas-guzzling cars, you know? And so that's a compelling story to tell. And it's one I feel passionate about, right? But I think eventually my storytelling and my stories are going to evolve to something beyond that.
Yeah.
It is super exciting, don't get me wrong. I'm like, the future looks bright with all this technology, and, you know, I'm right here. I'm like, I'm embracing it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid. I'm like, this is a thing. Electric cars are coming. I'm gonna go and make one. You know, it's like, there's no difference. It was the same thing with the video cameras. You know, it's like, oh, this is what people are doing to make their cameras look.
There's another Tesla.
More like, there's another Tesla. There's another one over there. It's crazy, and it's crazy because you sometimes you can lie to yourself and say like, oh, we're there. You know, it's like, we don't need this. You know, there's all these electric cars. That's it. We've won, but it is not so the case. You know, it's only here in the beautiful neighborhoods of Beverly Hills, right? But yeah, I think there's still quite a bit of work that needs to be done when it comes to the environment, when it comes to energy.
Yeah, and for me, it's not like only replacing cars that, you know, it's not like just replacing something that runs with gas with something that runs with electricity. It's just rethinking that whole mobility concept.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you replace every gasoline car with an electric car, you will still have the problem of having too many cars and traffic jams, and just especially here, just, you know, like almost every car, just there's just one person in it.
Yeah.
You have to have a car in Los Angeles because there's literally no other efficient way of getting around.
Yeah. And you're right, and it sits there all day. You use it for 10 minutes in the morning to get to work, and it sits there doing nothing.
So I think that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would, you know, focus on more in terms of what the future can be, because that's something I think about a lot, and I think that's something Well, I think a lot of people are thinking about that. Google and you know, a lot of big companies are experimenting with, supposedly even Apple, with
autonomous
car driving, and Uber, a lot of companies. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm lucky that I'm here in California where it's all happening, you know. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool, you know. It's like all my friends in the filmmaking industry are here. So whenever a project comes about, you know, it's like, hey, all I have to do is just pick up the phone and call a few of them, and then we're on to the project, you know. So yeah, I feel myself pretty fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah. So and apart from the YouTubing stuff, any goals and aims in filmmaking in the near future?
You know, I'm really concentrated in that right now, on the YouTubing thing. You know, YouTube used to be a thing where it wasn't serious, right? It was just what like kids used to do, and this is just where you put your backyard home movies or whatever, you know. But in the last few years, it's really become a real thing. There's a few content creators that are doing amazing things. I think it's influencing storytelling. There's new ways of storytelling that are evolving because of the platform, right? And so we don't know where the next platform is going to be. We don't know how long YouTube will be the thing, you know, but for now it is, you know. And so I'm really throwing myself all in it, you know what I mean? Like, I know with Misa, you know, he's doing a lot more traditional film projects and stuff, and I come with him and help him out whenever I can, and you know, it's also really good to remain, you know, kind of grounded and keep, you know, seeing what different types of projects so that you're well-rounded as a storyteller.
Well, what you're saying is a good point. I mean, I think if you look at the average teenager these days, they watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Like we watched TV when we were that age.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just something that the big industry is only now discovering, that it's actually we should produce content that is of higher quality with more money put in, because this is where the audience is.
Yeah.
And you see it with Facebook has recently announced that they will be working on or actually funding film projects, like individual episodes of stuff for up to $250,000 per episode.
Per episode, yeah.
Because they want the original content on their side, and
everybody's fighting for the original content, you know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy the times that we're living, because to think that a single person like me, you know, it's like my channel just passed 10 million views, right? Which is nothing, but it is crazy to think that it's 10 million. You know, that's more than some of these TV shows that we get.
A lot of them, actually.
You know what I mean? So some nobody like me, you know, like they could just put a camera together and have everything on auto and just not worry about the settings and the thing. That can speak and reach an audience of that level, of that caliber or whatever. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's funny how, you know, I sometimes still work for traditional TV where exactly what you're saying, which shows that have sometimes very little views, and where there is comparatively a lot of money in them. I mean, it's getting less and less, and TV is under a lot of pressure right now because of that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, compared to the actual audience that they get and how much money is being poured in, this is a ratio that is kind of unhealthy now.
Yeah.
And it's not maintainable. On the other hand, you have a lot of kids producing, all kinds of stuff with nothing and getting millions and millions of views on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's the very weird, twisted kind of reality
that we're living. It's shifting.
It's completely shifting, and I think betting on YouTube is definitely the right way to go, because this is where audiences are going. And I mean, the audiences that are young now will not ever go back to TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even our generation, I think anybody below 30, or actually anybody below 40, is not willing to submit to linear TV anymore.
Yeah.
Because when was the last time you sat down to watch something because it was on TV at a particular time?
Yeah, it's strange to do that now.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
I mean, even if you look at the most successful shows in the world, like Game of Thrones and stuff, it's also the most pirated show in the world, because you know, people, well, first of all, they don't want to pay for HBO, but that's actually not the main reason. The main reason is they don't want to, oh, is it Showtime? No, it's HBO. The main reason is they want to watch it when they want. And I think people are very willing to pay for content if they are able to watch it whenever they want.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the things that the industry really needs to learn. And if TV wants to survive, they have to adjust their formats and move them to constant availability on the internet, I think.
Yeah, you know, it's so crazy because it runs in parallels. You know, it's the same thing with the car industry, right? It's like they don't want to make the electric cars because they have ties to big oil. And so it takes some other guy, some billionaire, you know, Elon Musk, to start a new company and do the same thing. I think it's the same thing with media. You know, it's like it's not going to be, probably it's not going to be the big media companies. It's going to be a whole new thing. It's going to be an army of little guys like me on YouTube that are just going to take, you know, it's like the other day I saw that they were trying to make a guild, right? So that they can all get together and have bargaining, you know, power, right? And so it's all parallels. You know, we live in really, really amazing and exciting times where things are changing. And I think, you know, if I ever had to give any advice to anyone, I think it'd be like, just don't embrace change, you know? It's like, I mean, embrace change.
don't embrace change.
Embrace, it's like, it's the opposite of that. Embrace change because, I mean, when you look at my life, nothing but good has ever come from embracing change. You know, a lot of people gave me, criticized me when I went and picked up the Canon 5D Mark II, right? Because they're like, well, don't you make 35mm adapters? They're like, you're killing your own. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
What are you doing with a photo camera? It's never going to be the future.
Yeah, and I didn't care. I was like, man, this thing looks amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we got it when it didn't really have manual controls. Everything was auto. It used to do weird things in the middle of a shoot, right? We didn't care. It
still does that.
Yeah, I mean, it was so far ahead with that what we had.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that people were putting it down. They were like, no, this is just a fad. This is make-believe. This is not real. It's the same thing with everything else, you know. With electric cars, it's the same thing. There's a lot of people that don't believe in them. They think they're more, they have a bigger impact in you know, in the environment, and so they're not the answer. But, you know, I think statistically we're showing that it's not true. And it's the same thing with media. You know, it's like YouTube traditionally has been you know, something not serious until now we're getting millions and millions of views. The money's coming in, right? All the major advertisers are coming in to YouTube, and
absolutely.
So,
I think some of these people are millionaires now. So
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, I recently had an opportunity to do a big project with one of the big mobile companies, right? And so I was blown away because I'm still the underdog. I'm still the little guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm no one. You know what I mean? Like I'm just some dude that just picks up a camera and does things. You know, with whatever I get. And so to be, you know, approached by one of these multi-billion-dollar companies and say like, hey, let's do this project. It's mind-blowing. It's crazy. But it's all the power of the medium. It's all having to do with video. It's all having to do with your audience, you know.
Tell you what, we should continue this conversation in 1 or 2 years and just, you know, look back at what we talked about today and how everything has developed. I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm down.
Well, thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Misa.
Yeah, man. I'll be here next time.
Yeah, he's always here. He's like a constant guest.
Another Tesla.
Well, thanks everybody for watching this episode of Cinema 5D on the go. I have, in the meantime, lost myself somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. We're trying to find our way back down to LA, and tune in for the next episode of On the Go next week, and stay tuned to Cinema 5D for all news regarding, you know, camera reviews, camera news, anything to do with video and film technology. We are your guys, and thanks for watching.
Bye.